a session.
Yes.
All of you were there. So this is a continuation of the last session when we started off with practices, Zoroastrian practices, and started off with tarikats and saw some other practices. Today we move on from there. We have seen 10 of them. Today we will see the other 10. You will notice that these make up the religion. Any aspect of religion you could think of will be included there. That is why we will not be going into depth or detail. We will just refer to them. Depth or detail में बच्चे अपने आगे चलते हैं. Because each point may be a session by itself. So we won't go into them or even multiple sessions. Now this is a very interesting practice, the customs and traditions. Now, many a times we know that we Parsis were not, things like we Parsis were not wearing saris in Iran. After coming to India we wore saris, we were wearing a different type of dress over there. Over here we are wearing a different type of dress. So these are things, तो आप धनसक नहीं खाता था. In Iran the dhansak was not there. Chelo kebab was there. Very pulao. The dudley, the word dudley itself is a Gujarati term, dudley. That sort of a code over there. So dress, food, even the language Gujarati was not there. We were speaking Farsi and Dari. So these are things related and connected to the religion, but not forming its core. So these are things which do affect the identity of a person, but depending on the time and place and circumstances, these things can be amended or modified or changed. So they are called customs and traditions. In a way they are connected to the religion. So that's why we say they form the outermost layer of the religion. Now, clothes. As we mentioned, dagli, pagri, jablu, sari, all these form the part of an attire but an identity. You can make out a Parsi from the dress. Similarly, the decorations also. Now, one thing, the Toran. Now, one interesting aspect is that we consider that Toran is something we adopted from here, but no. Toran was something that was there even in Iran. Now, we have seen कि अपना अग्यारी आकाशबेरा में भी metallic तोरण हो, not actually fully तोरण, metal में तोरण हो, we see on the threshold of the Qibla side. We find a mention of such torans with sun and moon and stars on it, even in Iranian sources. So such sort of torans were already there. Then chalk is something that we have adopted over here. Like it is for a festive this thing and for purifying the air.
Lime में लेते हैं कीड़ी है तो वो आता है.
कीड़ी भी नहीं आती if the air passes over lime, it has a way of purifying itself. So these are the things. Then there are certain things which are associated with auspicious things, like sagan, like tili, har, ses. Ses के अंदर भी direct चीज है. They also have certain significances of their own. Like gulabas is full of rose water which asks us to be fragrant. The triangular thing that you see, that's a remnant of old Iran. Paro. So paro or paro. If those who have been to Iran, they have seen that there are sweets in the shape of a paro. Even today sold in the shops. Fully sweet. The full sweet generally covered by a green paper. Today we just put sweets inside the paro, but there is an auspicious thing, auspicious sweet. आज आपको अगंदिनो लाडवा भी तेज शिफ्ट में करिए. So though that is an auspicious shape, and any sweet in that shape is considered good. So these things are remnants of those times. Then overna. Overna mean, you know what overna is?
Yes.
अपने तो चोखा नाखीने overna करिए. They are achhu michu. And overnight they are connected, but they are linked with energy. Like when you do something round, you are taking away the negative energy from the person and then earthing it. The best way, those who work with energy, they say the best way to remove negative energy is to let it go to the earth and let Mother Earth absorb it. So maybe pani, water, rice, egg, whatever you take around the negativity, you like to, these things absorb the negativity and then you show it. So in a way,
coconut process significance, like we break it.
Breaking a coconut means that you are giving a part of it like for charity and kari kharabi chamari par avani hote any par ave. Even for egg, you take an egg and break it, you take a coconut and break it, and like they are full of life in a way, they have got life in it. So that any bad thing that may have come on the life of the person is taken on by these things, and then broken means that goes away with it. The coconut, like that is a sign of prosperity also, because coconut never goes waste and no part of the coconut goes waste. So it is a sign of prosperity. Rice is a sign of Shreefal. There are other names also for it. But rice is plenty. Then food, of course, we all know that special foods which we eat. In fact, similar food even other sister communities make, like rava jevu bhi log banaave, shiro, sev jevu bhi banaave. They have preparations, sevai also.
Nobody makes them like us.
Yeah, that is true. That's why people love Parsis. Because for no other reason they can have dhansak with them.
Vegetarians come and say we want authentic dhansak. No, you won't get authentic dhansak.
And then there is reciting of Monajats and Shahnamu. These are also part of our custom and tradition. Monajats were originally Persian devotional songs. Thereafter, when people started forgetting Persian, Gujarati devotional songs were written. Sometimes people like Jivanji Modi, who was a great scholar of the religion, he has even written a couple of Monajats based on Avastan prayers or some Avastan teaching. Generally, the Monajats are for Dada Gauramazda or Prophet Zarathustra. And there are other Monajats, also some historical Monajats are there. So they are like bhajans or hymns for the Christians. Like what the prayers cannot convey, the Monajats convey. And the Shahnameh, of course, are in Persian and they are translated in verse in Gujarati also. So all these form of part of custom and tradition. Now, calendar is another very important aspect of the religion that we generally overlook. In ancient Iran, there were two calendars when our kings were ruling. One was a religious calendar and one was a state calendar. Religious calendar was kept in such a way that it started somewhere around our March and April of the English calendar. Many people generally believe that it always started from 21st March. That is not true. It did skip and then come back. So every 120 years, 1 month was added to bring back the calendar in sync. And that was a religious calendar which the whole of Iran kept on following. And all religious festivals and religious anniversaries and birthdays, etc. were based on the religious calendar. So in a way it kept sync with the seasons, though not exactly from date to date, but it did not move around much. Like it would go 1 month here and then come back, 1 month here and then come back. But more or less it kept sync with the seasons. Another was the state calendar. The state calendar always started with the coronation of the king. And for all state purposes or financial purposes, such things, this state calendar was used. And it started anew with the coronation of a new king. So like that we have two calendars. Now, after the downfall of the Sasanian Empire, we knew that there may not be another king for a long time to come. So somehow that state calendar and the religious calendar were merged and only one calendar was made. And then one additional year, a month was also added after some time. Because Sasanian empire came to an end in the middle of the 7th century AC, around 651 years as a time. Thereafter, for about 200 to 250 years, the Zoroastrians were still living in Iran and very comfortably, and they were practicing religion. Many religious books were written in those times in the Pahlavi language, so we were okay for the next 200 years. And it was only after that the Mongols, the Tatars, the Huns, they came, and then it was unbearable, and then we left. And Arabs were getting a foothold. We generally believe that Arab conquered entire Iran at one go. It was not that. They conquered Iran in bits and pieces. And when they conquered Yazdazarvishe, at that time the capital was taken up. But still a lot of the portions of Iran were still under Zoroastrian, not kings but commanders. Especially the southern regions of Yazd, Kerman, such regions which were beyond the desert. So they were comparatively safer. So Zoroastrians were safe over there till the 9th-10th century. So there the calendar, 1 month was added once. But those who were in other places, they were not able to add that 1 month even in Iran. And then they came from Iran to India about 1300 years back. And we brought with us that calendar. And that calendar later on came to be known as the Shenshai calendar. Because it was a calendar connected to the Shenshah, Yazdazar. And that's why we call it the Yazdazardi calendar also. He was the last king. Then, you know that today we have 3 calendars. The other calendar, Qatmi, came about in the beginning of the 18th century when a priest from Iran came and realized that there was a difference of 1 month in the calendar, and he requested the people to come together and drop 1 month and come together. But generally priests are very particular about not changing the calendar because there is a sense of continuity in the calendar. It's a living thing. You just can't just remove 1 month and throw it out. So they said no, we can't change it. But still there were some priests who were ready to go to the other, the ancient calendar, and so they call themselves Qadimis, which means ancient, the original. So Qadimis and Shenshais were 2 groups that were formed. And finally, about 100 years back, when some religious reformers realized that both these calendars were not in sync with the seasons, they said that we start a new calendar which will always start with 21st March. There were some religious reservations to it because that would entail adding of a leap day every 4 years. And in none of our historical or religious books we had any precedent where we added 1 day every 4 years. We did add 1 month every 120 years.
But have you been doing that when we've been in India?
What?
Adding that one month?
No, that stopped after we came to India.
Now we are behind.
So that, yeah, that's why we are in August just now. Our New Year is in August.
Yeah.
So it has lapsed several months back.
And that 1 month that you are saying, they add 1 month, 1
That's
month is
also
added
not
every
done.
120 years, that is not also taken.
That's not done anymore. Last it was done one time after the downfall of the Sasanian Empire, and that also not in the whole of Iran. Only in some parts where Zoroastrian's stronghold was there, empire was there.
What is their name this month? The name was given to the month?
No, no name was given. It was called Kabise. The system was called Kabise. The system of adding the month was called Kabise. A month was repeated at a certain point of time. So they knew how to do it. We today don't even know how it could be done. We just know the theory that it was done.
So Fasli calendar also has the gathas and everything. Chauthar gatha, first, second.
Everything is identical in all the 3 calendars. The only difference in Fasli calendar is they add 1 extra day which they call Avardak Salga. They call this day Avardat Salga.
Every 4 years.
Every 4 years when a Christian leap year is there, they add that day.
Which month? Yeah.
5 गाथा પછી. 5 ગાथा પછી.
So it's like a 6th Gatha and then August.
Yeah, leap year માં શું થાય?
21st है
કે 20 દરેક year 20th એ લોકોનો વૈશ્વિક ગાથા હોય 20th માર્ચ પણ leap year માં 19th માર્ચ છે. So the 20th March will be the Avardat Salga day.
Okay.
You can't call it the 6th Gatha.
No, I'm just saying it's an additional.
No, you can't call it a Gatha at all.
Oh,
Gathas
no.
can only be 5.
Okay.
So that's why this calendar was not accepted by the majority of the community, but there are some reformers who did go for it. And because it became a convenient calendar, you don't have to remember every 4 years when your birthday changes. It will remain same. The Rojan Maha will always remain same for life
Right.
if you are following the Fasli calendar.
Right.
Like the Merangan celebration, the Mer Mahino Mer Roj always comes on 2nd October in the Fasli calendar. So like that it is very convenient. So like that then we have 3 calendars. Now between the Shenshei and Fasli, Shenshei and Kadmi, there are some differences in prayers. Some differences in prayers and rituals. Minor, I would say about 10%. Not even 10%, less than that. But with Shenshei and Fasli, there is no difference in prayers. Okay? Now, why is the calendar so important? The calendar is important because all our observances, our festivals, consecration of fire temples, etc., everything is connected with the religious calendar. That is one reason why religious calendar is very essential. And second reason is that each day of the religious calendar is dedicated to a Yazad or Ameshaspan or some divine being or the other. And that's why to live a religious life, a religious calendar becomes very essential. And that is why even in our prayers we have to mention the day of the Roj and the Ma, because we need to be connected with the Yazad of the day and the month. So that's why it is one of the most important practices of our religion to follow the religious calendar.
But now that it's not in sync, obviously now
The religious calendar.
our leaders of our community don't feel like we should restart like properly the whole thing and do that 1 month.
No, the thing is, what you are saying is right, that the calendar is not in sync with the seasons. Many a times attempts were made to make one calendar, but there are some very, very genuine reasons not to do it. As I said, you cannot just break the continuity. In Mohammedan, in priestly, in spiritual terms, it is called silsila.
But the BG Havan gets affected because of this.
Many things get affected. The gambas get affected. The BG Havan gets affected.
No, BG Havan gets affected because of not following that whole system.
Even the gambas get affected by not following the whole system. It is true. But then technically they say even the Fasli calendar is not correct. Where do you get the 6 days
6
from?
days, yeah.
So
No,
both
but-
have their negative things. So after weighing everything, they came to the conclusion that it is better to stick to this non-seasonal calendar which is religious and which is ancient than a seasonal calendar which is not on the basis of the religion.
But in so many years, when we reach March, April, can't we start adding the 1 month every 120 years?
Then maybe you should have to wait for great grandchildren. But then also technically you'll be wrong because afterwards you'll have to keep adding
The 1 month.
1 day. 1 month you can add only if you have an empire of your own. Today you can't even think 120 years પછી શું થશે, કોણ થશે, BPP નો chairman કોણ હશે, વડાપ્રધાનજી કોણ હશે, nobody will know. So whom will you entrust what, who will become what and who will add 120 years? You have to, it was the responsibility of the king, whoever was the king, and there were ministries to look after all these things. Today we don't know all these things. So better not, we won't spend much more time on this because we are not able to do anything about it.
Yeah.
Very seriously. Because very, very healthy discussions were held for hours and days and months. And we are still at it. So let it be. Okay. The next thing is Pareji. Pareji is a word of Indian origin, parhez. Even in Hindi you use the word parhez karna. Parhez means to keep away from something. And generally today we use pareji for keeping away from non-vegetarian food. And that brings us to the very controversial aspect of whether Zoroastrians are vegetarians or non-vegetarians. Generally, from a religious point of view, from the point of view of our text, we are definitely non-vegetarians. But we are asked to keep away from non-vegetarian food, especially from the food which belongs to Vammanameshastra, for some days and a month in the year. And that is not for any other reason but to show a mark of respect to the Yajur or Rameshastra. Here in this case to Vammanameshastra, you show a mark of respect. I am not eating your creation for these days. The days in the month which belong to Vammanameshastra and the month which belongs to the Vammanameshastra, we don't eat their food, and so we respect them. You know, in ancient Iran, on Awa Roj, they used to avoid wasting water. And so they would not do chores which were avoidable. So like washing clothes was to be avoided on Awa Roj. It is a mark of respect to Awa Yajur and not put filth in the water. On Adar Roj, they would avoid using cooking food was of course done, but avoid using the what we call the oven of those times, where they used to bake things. So there it was avoided, like on that day. So such marks of respects were there in the ancient times, and this was a similar thing. So pareji we follow as a mark of respect to Vammanameshastra. Now there are good reasons why one should be vegetarian. It is from a point of view of health, some would become vegetarian. But seeing it in the religion and trying to see it from a religious point of view is not something which is very acceptable. As a personal choice, of course, it's a very healthy way of life. One can follow it. But when one asks whether Zoroastrian religion prescribes it or not, we have to say it doesn't prescribe. Though there are groups in the community, once again, who believe that yes, vegetarianism is a part of the religion. As we discussed about reincarnation, that there are groups which do believe. So that is up to them. But from the mainstream religious point of view, it is not supported. Then we come to a very important aspect of our religion, remembering our dear departed ones. It is a very important religious duty to remember the departed ones because it helps us maintain a connection with them. We generally know that there is a spiritual world and material world. Death is just a transition. It is not the end for the person. And the person who is passed away into the other dimension expects that it be remembered in a positive manner. From those points of view, from those points, our religion has decided to have certain days on which they have to be specifically remembered. We can remember them every second of every day, that is another thing. But this, in some special way, they have to be remembered on certain days. Now many people ask, how long should we remember them? There is not a point at all. You can remember your dear ones, you need to remember them all through your life. But whether rituals should be performed or not, there is another point. Rituals to be performed for a limited number of years, which also is not very compulsive with this many or that many, but that can be done. But remembering them on the day of their death is something that can be done in many different ways apart from ritual. Like one can personally do some prayers or rituals for them. One could go to the fire temple and offer sandalwood or machi to the sacred fire in their memory. One could do some charity in their memory. So there are different ways in which one could remember the dear departed ones. In the term Baj, we generally call it Baj, ke falana ni Baj cha hai, Kukal Aru Sahib ni Baj hai, ke apna koi Gujrala ni, koi Mamma ni, ke Papa ni, ke koi Baj hai. So Baj is a word of referring to one particular ritual, the Baj Dharma. And because it is one of the main rituals, the whole set of rituals came to be referred to as the Baj of that person. Now, these are death rituals, part of death rituals. But there are a whole host of other rituals and ceremonies which are also part of the religion. We have ceremonies for purification, like the Kasti, the Nahan, the Barashnu.
The what?
Barashnu. Barashnu is a 9-day, 9-night retreat which generally nowadays only priests undergo before their priesthood initiations, Navar and Marta. And before performing certain rituals, the priest have to undergo this Barashnu, which is a 9-day, 9-night purification process. So there are these purification rituals.
Layman also can do this.
Technically yes. Technically yes. Even ladies were supposed to do it. But in Iran, after menopause, ladies were expected to undergo a Barashnu during their lifetime. But nowadays, generally, because in the process of Barashnu, one has to remove all of one's clothes when the priest administers Barashnu. So that is why nowadays, for purpose of modesty, perhaps it is not done. But you know, Barashnu was so important that there are certain things which if a person doesn't do, somebody else can do on their behalf. We have this practice among Zoroastrians. For example, if you have not done Patet while alive, then somebody can do Patet Ravani on your behalf after death. Or if you have not consecrated or celebrated a Gambar in your life, it is done after you. So similarly, these practices are there. And Barashnu also, there is a practice. If we have a Barashnu in memory of departed ones also, though nowadays this practice is not so well known, but one could have a Barashnu done. Like if some morbid is, like Atash Veramna morbid ho, they have to undergo Barashnu almost annually or every couple of years. Atash Veramna boy wala sare. So somebody can sponsor their Barashnu in memory of a dear departed one. So like that, even Barashnu vidya koi kehut hai. So these are these purification rituals. Then there are Thanksgiving rituals which you all know, Jashan and Faresta. Then there are life cycle rituals. Life cycle rituals mean at certain points of our life. We don't do anything particular at the time of birth. Of course, the mother undergoes the Naam after some time, but nothing connected to the birth as such. But we have Navjot, we have wedding, and we have death. So these are the three life cycle rituals. And death rituals, we do this every month, but the first 3-day death rituals are very important. Then there are inner rituals, which are rituals performed only in the Agyaris, only within the Pavi, like the Ijasni, Vandidar, etc. So there are a host of rituals, and hopefully we will take it up in greater detail in our next session. But suffice to know that rituals and ceremonies are an integral part of the religious practice. For two reasons. Many reasons, but two main reasons. One is that our scriptures have survived because of these rituals. You know, almost all of our scriptures, our texts, our dust have been destroyed. But all those which have survived only because they were connected to rituals. Number two, and another important aspect about the ritual is that it in a way embodies the living religion. It in a way dramatizes the religion. તમે જશન વગેરે જોશો કે ફૂલ ઉચકે છે, ફૂલ મૂકે છે, મોમેન્ટ સાહેબ ઊભા થાય છે, બેસે છે, અફરગનિયાને ચીપિયો લગાડે છે, ચમચ લગાડે છે, હેન્ડશેક કરે છે, જાત જાતના બધા રિચ્યુઅલ્સ છે. These are actually dramatizations of certain important teachings of our religion. Most of the rituals have this. So in a way, rituals have a very important role to play in the religion, even subconsciously, but all this is there.
Why were the scriptures saved because of the rituals you were saying? Because of the rituals the scriptures were saved?
Yeah, because the Maoists learned by heart the scriptures. Even today the practice is there. Almost except for the Vandidar, all the surviving Avastan texts, the children of our madrasa, and all those Maoists who are Pakka Maoists, they have it by heart. So that's how it has survived. And I'm sure Vandidar also in the past was memorized. Today it is not memorized. But in the past, Validar was also memorized. So only those which were connected with the rituals. Because rituals करते वक्त model cannot keep on reading. Certain rituals have to be there, so and memorization increases the speed also, the fluency also. So all these things are to be considered. So rituals and ceremonies are integral practices of the religion. Next important aspect of the religion is priesthood. It is a very much part of our religion are the 4 divisions of society which were done by King Jamshed. The 4 divisions of society. The priests, the warriors, the farmers and the craftsmen. Throughout Zoroastrian Iran, more or less these divisions were maintained. After coming to India, only the priests were a separate lot, the rest 3 merged into one and they are today referred to as Vedins. And the priest group is referred to as Athornans. So the priests are called Athornans. Athornan term comes from the Avesta word Athravan. The term Athravan means one who looks after fire or one who tends the fire. We all know that fire is a very important component in the Zoroastrian religion. And hence, a priest is also an important component of the religion. A priest has several functions to perform. One of them is teaching, one of them is performing rituals, and one of them is looking after sacred fires to keep them burning. Which of course the name itself, Athornan name itself means those who tend the fires. And here the fire means both the things. The physically burning fires and the spirit which is also referred to as the fire. That also needs to be tended. So that's why the role of priest is very essential in the Zoroastrian religion. Nowadays more
Iran was the Dasturi of Iran, they were used to act as healers also.
Yes.
That is correct.
Yes. Question.
That was one of their duties also. They could go about in the countryside and JB ko prayer karwa karne and all.
Yeah, in the olden times there were no as we have today general practitioners, so many. Generally, the priests had this traditional knowledge of some healing herbs. And secondly, they also had the knowledge about prayers which would heal. Thirdly, their own inherent spiritual power by itself was supposed to cleanse, as you know, illnesses, ill health would come in the Kerpa, aura, the etheric body. And if that is clean, to a certain extent the disease also would be clean. The spiritual aspect is connected to physical aspect.
Hinduism में भी आपके जो अपना जो भट्टाचार्य का सरनेम समझे ना, that is actually 2 separate words. Bhatt is a priest and Acharya is a healer.
Yes.
So they were also used to have these dual duties.
Yeah. In fact, in the Adiveshas it is said that Matra heals, Matro Beshazo. There are 5 types of healings I mentioned. Asho Beshazo, Matro Beshazo, Dato Beshazo, Urvaro Beshazo and Kereto Beshazo. Beshazo means healing. So out of the 5 types of healing, Matro Beshazo, Beshazanam Beshazo. Matra is the best healing technique of all. What are the other 4 healing techniques? Asho. Asho means righteousness, piety. That itself heals. Then Dato. Dato means giving justice. What we call psychosomatic medicine. If somebody is wrong, somebody may fall ill. If that person gets justice, that person may get better. So Dato Beshajo, Urvaro Beshajo. Urvaro Beshajo was, Urvar means plants. So Jadi Butti thi heal karwana. Plants thi, herbs thi heal karwana. That is Urvaro Beshajo. Interestingly, Kereto Beshazo was the 4th one. Keret means cut, knife. the surgery. So Kereto Vesejo was also mentioned, and Matro Vesejo,
Yes.
prayers. So there were 5 types of healing techniques. And immediately over there it mentions Matro Vesejo, Veshajanam Vesejo. It's a base of the healings. So then definitely a priest had the role of a healer. And in fact, I have seen one very beautiful picture in the Mella Patel Academy. I don't know whether it is still there, a hand painting where it shows a lady lying down and a priest praying over her.
Pichi Fenway.
Pichi Fervete. Pichi Fervete was in the past, Pichi means actually a feather, a pichu, which was while praying taken from the head to the toe of the person so that it would take away the negative energy.
There's a painting to this.
Yeah. But nowadays we just use a handkerchief. And that is still called the Pichi. So that way these healing techniques are there. So one of the roles of the priest was to do this also. But that was more pertinent when we had those parish priest sort of an outlook in the villages. Means there was a family priest, like how we have family doctor. And then આપણે બધા સુખે દુખે તેને મોમેન્ટ આગળ જાય ને મોમેન્ટ બી આપણે ઘેરે આવે ને આપણે બી મોમેન્ટને ઘેરે સુખે દુખે જઈએ. That sort of a connection was there. So that thing is no more there today. And that's why those practices have generally died down. Today the major role of a priest, I would say 80 to 90% is of performance of rituals. The other roles have, and of course tending the fire. The other roles have gradually not been so much taken up.
પણ આપણે અગિયારીના પ્રીસ કરે છે થોડું ને.
There are priests who do it. There are some very knowledgeable and pious priests who do it. But as I said, one needs some amount of piety to do it. That is the most important component.
I'm not talking only of health, but like somebody to turn to, a spiritual guide. So normally,
Yeah, it is not
I mean,
totally
like
died down.
like my parents got Tutini again, he was arthrosis one in Malkeshwar. So I remember.
No, it's
but
not yet totally
everything,
died down. You
we
are
always
right.
went.
But it is not as much as it was in the past. That also one should. And that's what I am trying to say. It's not died down, but it is dwindled.
Other people also, like in general, people have the healing power. Some
Everybody has healing power. Everybody has healing power. It's how you are able to channelize it and how good you are. Because a healer is a person who can channelize energy, and a channel itself has to be a good channel. Like if your pipeline is dirty, then whatever good water would come, it will not be as good as it comes the other way.
Because it's not my imagination, but once when my child was crossing what I was burning, and I actually felt like a blow sort of a thing.
Sometimes it is very, maybe very prominent. Yeah, but yeah, anybody can be a healer. In fact, now with Reiki in India becoming so prominent, we know that it is an art, it is a science which you can learn and which you can use and develop by practice. And as we all know, even last time I told you one time before that Kharina is energy is connected to health very closely. Next we go on to Mukta. Now, generally Mukta are seen today as days of remembering our near and dear ones. But actually the concept of Mukta is a festival or a celebration to remember all the Fravashis and thank them. A better word for Mukta was Farvardigan in the use in the past. Farvardigan means Fravashis. You all know what Fravashis are now. We have done this aspect. So Fravashis are our own human guardian angels as well as the guardian angels of all the creations. We owe a lot to them because we don't even realize how much our lives and how much the natural phenomena they look after. So our religion has said that 10 days in a year you reserve to thank them.
So Mukta is
In those days, in those days, you invite them in your house. You make an atmosphere in your house where they can come and where you can host them. You have to be the host and they have to be the guest. And in them, in those surroundings, of course, your near and dear ones are also included. So they come, they enjoy, they feel satisfied, they bless the house and they depart. So that was the original concept of Muktad or Farvardega, and it is a religious duty to celebrate them. Not necessarily by having rituals performed in Nagyari, but Gherni under, in a way, create the atmosphere of welcoming the Ashokarovas. Yes, sorry, Ash.
No. That means Muktad, I always had misunderstood that Muktad was only for the deer departed. It is also for the
That
flowers.
is a misconception in the community, but actually it is for the flourishes of everybody.
Okay.
It has to be doesn't have to be a very, very solemn and somber thing. It could be it has to be a festive thing. They want to see you happy.
So it's not only for the deer death, it's also for the flower trees. It's not for the
All the flourishes and all the souls.
All the souls.
We are told that the souls get 10 days ka chutti from wherever they are. Wherever they are, they can come home. And then they can enjoy the hospitality of the people, and then after 10 days they depart.
There is a small book which Dr. Pautli has written. Nagpurna.
I know.
Enable except for the world.
Yeah. So, in that way, Muktad are something which are days where we have to, and that is why, as I said, it has to be festive. That's why we have certain things, certain prescriptions for Muktad, like kapra nahi sirwana, not to stitch clothes, not to mend clothes, not to preferably shave or cut hair or nail. All these things have a logic that when guests have come, you don't do these things. You don't show that you are poor. You don't remove naso when your guests are there. Guests are there, sampai tama kachra varna nahi besu. Cutting hair and nail is removing naso, like so. ये लोग को आया दे वक्त तमने करवाना मत. So these are the ideas by which these traditions came about. So that is why these traditions are connected to the Muktad. And another reason is that the family comes together. We take some respite from work, come together and collectively remember the dear ones. So there is a sense of harmony and unity. And the word Beru that we use for the vase today, actually the term Beru means sharing. The term Beru means sharing. But today everybody wants to have their own Bera. The son wants a different Bera for the mother and the daughter wants a different Bera. But actually the whole family, the extended family used to keep only one sharing this thing, which was a symbol to remember them. It was symbolic. Now these are two things which have more or less in India gone out of practice, more or less. Firstly, we will take the Gambar. Now, what are Gambars? Today, in our general idea, Gambars are ખાવાનું પીવાનું બધા ચાય બપોરે ખાઈ પીને આવે. ઘરે બી થઈ શકે તે. કોઈ બી સન્ડે પકડીને હોલિડે પકડીને થઈ શકે. Actually, Gambars are periods of 5 days every alternate month in our religious calendar. They are designated days. Like Ardivesh Mahinama, Khoshed Roj થી Dekmer Roj. I 5 દિવસ are Maidyozaran Gambarna days. So on those days, the Maidyozaran Gambar has to be celebrated. Similarly, Tir Mahinama Maidyoshem Gambarna 5 દિવસ. And every Chello Gambar na 5 દિવસ are the 5 Gatha days. So, already Chello Gambar are. So, the Gambar are days specifically to thank God for the seasons. Because without the seasons, there would be no crop, there would be no agriculture, there would be no life. And Gambars are also connected with the 6 creations. So, like Thanksgiving not only for the crop and not only for agriculture and not only for food but also for all the creation. So these were special days of Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. नहीं कहते हैं एकदम अच्छे बोलो the chain of thoughts keeps on breaking. So we were asked to celebrate Gambar in our life. Like Gambar na દિવસ પર કઈ બનવાનું કે બનાવવાનું. But generally we don't even know where a Gambar comes or where it goes. So generally we don't celebrate it. Iran ma આજે भी even with such a lot of problems that they are facing, they still celebrate Gambars in a nice way. With having rituals performed, the whole community coming together, and people sponsoring Gambar in memory of departed ones and giving whatever they could, like no lavish food. Somebody can give some plain naan also on Gambar, and somebody according to their convenience can give more things. But like this still today, even in India, I think there is this Iranian society which still celebrates those Gambars. But we Parsis have more or less stopped celebrating it from a religious point of view. But what we do is when we celebrate the Muktar ma Hamas par the Gambar to aave. At that time, the Gambar is celebrated in a way. So when Muktar ma je jashan થાય છે, generally it more or less has to be in the 5 Gata days, and there is a jashan of the Gambar. So the dear departed one નું ગંબારનું બનવાનું થયું. Even otherwise, the Mohammed Sahib of the Agyari may ask you કે તમારું કોઈ ગુજરી જાય, so for the first year, whether he could do the gambar also. So this 5 times in the year, because 6 times મુખ્તારમાં તો થવાનું જ છે, but 5 times in the year, જ્યારે બી પેલા ગંબારના દિવસો પડે, so any one of the 5 days in the Agyari, they would pray for the departed ones. So all the 5 Gambars would be, all the 6 Gambars would be celebrated in that day. Another thing, તમે હમણાં જ કોઈ remark about Rapitwan being out of sync. Now Rapitwan Gay is the second Gay of the day. It is a time when the sun is at its height. It is the Rapitwan Yazar is connected with warmth and heat. And in ancient Iran, more or less, the last 5 months of the year were winter months. It started generally with November, December and lasted up till March. So during these 5 winter months, it was believed that Rapitwan Yazar has got another duty to perform. That of giving warmth to Mother Earth. And that's why it cannot perform its duty of being the Yazar of the Gay. That was one of the reasons why Rapitwan Gay was not done. Another more important reason was that rituals are generally performed in Havan Gay. And when the days are very short, especially in the northern hemisphere, they needed more time to perform rituals. So the 3 hours of the Rapitwan Gay were added onto the Havan Gay. And it was called the second Havan. So that the Havan rituals can be continued into the Rapitwan Gay also. The Havan Gay rituals could be performed in Rapitwan Gay as a Havan Gay. So for these 2 reasons, Rapitwan Gay was not decided during the last 5 months of the year, and instead of Rapitwan Gay, Biji Havan Gay banta. But then, after the New Year, one day was specially kept, generally the Ardivest Roj, forwarding Menano, Ardivest Roj. Karan ke Ardivest Ameshaspan is the Ameshaspan connected to Rapitwan Yazar. તમે Rapitwan Gay માં અક્ષય વૈષ્ણવ બનશો. તમે જો Rapitwan Gay બનશો તો અક્ષય વૈષ્ણવ શ્રેષ્ઠ બનશો. So અક્ષય વૈષ્ણવ is the avastha name for Ardivest Ameshaspan. So Ardivest Ameshaspan is connected to Rapitwan Yazar. That's why Ardivest Roje Momedo का तो special इजस्नी करे, नहीं तो special जश्न करे and welcome back Rapitwan Yazar. But technically we can start praying the Rapitwan Gay from Ormas Roj itself. But जे Momedo क्रियाकाम करता हो, they started from Ardivest. But sorry.
Is this relevant now because we don't have those winters and those short days and all that?
Yeah, it is true that seasonally it is not relevant.
So then ideally,
Because these fall in the longest days of the year.
Yeah, I agree that seasonally it is not relevant. But ritually, we still perform it because we are following this calendar. It is not in sync with the seasons, I agree. But we can't do much about it. And as I said, the option of changing the calendar and taking it to March was not acceptable from a religious and spiritual point of view. This was supposed to be a lesser evil, not celebrating these things at the time of season, compared to changing the whole calendar and breaking the whole silsila of everything that was consecrated. Because अगर इसके दरेक चीज consecrate थेलू है तो consecration बच्चे खलास नहीं जैसे जो है सिलसिला तोरी कर सो. Okay, so that is why we decided not to do it. So I think 10-12 years back it did happen. There for 4 years all the 3 Hormuz roads were coming on the same day. Firstly, Kadmi and Chinche Hormuz roads were coming on the same day, and about 10-12 years back. And that time people made a lot of effort. Now is the time, if at all it could happen, it could happen. But they did not. But there are certain people who generally understand, they say that when you do something in nature, nature will collect it. Nature will collect it and then appropriate it at the appropriate time. You understand? So though we may not be seasonally correct, we are just giving our good wishes to nature and to that yazma at that particular time. Logically it may not make sense, but devotionally it has to make sense. Then finally, Dokme Nashmi. Death is a very integral part of our life, and we are more spirits than matter. Human being is more a spirit than matter. So that's why death as a transition is considered very important. And what happens at the time of death to the body and the soul is given great significance in Zoroastrian religion. And that's why right since the very ancient times there were prescriptions, rules and regulations regarding how to deal with death. How to deal with death, how to deal with the corpse at the time of death, what to do about the soul which would have left the body at the time of death. We have very elaborate rules and regulations. And in spirit we have been following those rules and regulations faithfully since thousands of years. Dokme Nashmi is the way in which the body had to be disposed. And though it has undergone some changes over a period of time in its form, but in the spirit, Dokme Nashmi has remained the same. There are 4 aspects or elements to Dokme Nashmi. One, that the body has to be disposed away from habitation as much as possible. Secondly, it has to be disposed at an elevated space. Thirdly, it has to be disposed in a way that it has to be open to sunlight. And fourthly, it has to be disposed in a way that it is open to scavenger birds. We are faithfully following those 4 prescriptions right since thousands of years, and our practice of Dokme Nashmi is a result of that practice. In today's day and age, the practice has considerably weakened because out of the 4, one is almost not there. The birds, the carrions, the best carrions, the vultures are not there. Another aspect is that Dokmas are at the same place, but the habitation is going closer to them. They are not moving towards us, but people are, because of space crunch, are moving towards them. So these 2 things have become a bit of a problem. But the other 2 are very much there. And the other 2 are that it has to be in an elevated space and open to the sun. The 2 others are not totally destroyed because there are other birds of prey which are not as efficient as vulture, but which are working to a certain extent, very slowly. But from a religious angle, what is to be seen is that the body is to be disposed in such a way that the natural creations are polluted in the least. Pollution will take place, but the least pollution should take place, and that it should be good for the soul. Like the body is now has to be disposed in one way or the other, but the disposal should be in such a way that it is helpful to the soul in its progress and evolution, and not harmful in any way. So keeping these two things in mind, I personally believe that still today Dogmenashini is the best possible alternative for the people where dogmas are there.
Where there are no dogmas, like
Where there are no
North
dogmas,
America.
where there are no dogmas, the second option, which of course I would not say it's a religious option, because the religion does not categorically say that it is not for it. But since we have to dispose the body in one way or the other, the next best alternative, you can say, is burial. Burial in the earth in such a way that there is least amount of contamination to the earth. But today, in some places there are dedicated Zoroastrian burials also. Like even in Tehran there is there. And in many other places in India also there are Arangas.
Jamshedpur માં છે.
Jamshedpur માં છે, ઉટી માં છે, પંચમણી માં બી છે, બેંગ્લોર માં છે.
નાગપુરમાં મારી ફેમિલીનું છે. Personal.
Personal.
Mathेरान has got.
Yeah. So this
Cremation
Arangas,
is not cremation is not.
Villamorial.
cremation from a Zoroastrian point of view is the last option to be taken. If at all the other two are not viable or available. And because the body has to be disposed in some way, that's the last possible option to be taken.
Iran has cremation. I'm sorry, where is Iran?
Yeah.
They don't practice Dogmenashini.
No, in Iran, the government stopped the use of Dagma about 50 years back.
That's a recent.
Till about 50 years back, they were used. The last of the Dagmas were used in years, where you can still see them standing very much.
So it is discontinued.
But because of the government directive, the government this thing, they had to discontinue it. But the people were not at all in favor of discontinuing it. And we have told several stories where people would go and place the body even surreptitiously, and they would, in those times when this thing took place, I'm not talking of present time, but immediately when the shift took place, they were so emotionally disturbed that they would not even dream that it should happen, because everything was in place over there.
Why did the government?
Pardon?
Why did the government?
Iran,
Because the
Muslim,
king,
Islam.
we are on record, so we won't say much just now. But it's a government.
In the advanced class, do you talk more on this?
The fallen
Yes. We have, in the advanced class there is one topic on death. We are dealing with death, and in that topic we will take up this also. So, and most importantly, in a way, whether we admit or accept it today or not, but this is the most natural way for sure, because in a jungle if somebody would die, this is the best way closest to nature that the body will go. Secondly, it is ecological because it does not burn, it does not take up earth, which is very precious in today's day and age. So in that way it is ecological, and it is economical also, because you are using the same space again and again and again. You are using sunlight, you are using birds, which are free in a way. So it is the most, of course, for the money that we are paying are for the priests and the rituals, and not for the process as such. So that's how Dogmenashini is was preferred over other options also. Today, unfortunately, but mind you, it's not only that because vultures and all there since the past 10-12 years are Zoroastrians not in favor of Dogmenashini. If you study the history of Dogmenashini, even 100 and 120 years back, there were a group of people who were always against the system for one reason or the other. Now that the vultures are not there, these groups have become more vociferous. They've got to edit this thing in their arsenal. But if you see the history, every 20-30 years there have been movements where they wanted to stop the light.
But this is also harmful to the vultures because now we take a lot of painkillers, which when
But
after
now
we
the
die.
vultures are not there.
No,
That
when
question is not
the
arising.
vultures
What
eat,
about that?
eat those.
What about the other birds?
Lycopodium is not dangerous to them apparently.
Not just radiation check. If the drugs are checked,
But
etc.
apparently, as we see, nothing is harming them.
Okay.
Otherwise, we would
The
have seen the
vultures,
results.
they said that it was harming the vultures.
Diclofenac was definitely harming the vultures.
I believe a lot
Saying other
more.
words.
I think
Ah.
other BNHS, I think at one stage said that there were other drugs harming other creatures.
Vulture.
also, कि only vultures are required, not any animals.
No, it's
Like
calculated.
in ancient times, vulture
No.
was the best carrier.
Why hyena is there in animal?
Bird. In the
Why
olden
bird?
times,
This is what
even crop eating
I think
animals
that was
were
because
there.
of the geographic
In the very,
placing of
very
where
ancient
it was.
times, in the Western times, there was no structure around. We just used to expose the body on mountains
Yeah.
and tie the limbs to a post that the skeleton cannot be dragged away.
Oh, that's it. There was no surrounding.
No, in the very, very, very ancient times, pre-Zoroastrian times.
Yeah, Socrates describes it in detail.
Yeah. So
In
it was
complete
not there.
detail.
Now we conclude today's this thing that the practices that I told you, about 20 of these practices, some of them are recorded in our books, later books, not very old books, but in later books, Farazatname and Benediction of Iranian Marriages. These duties are mentioned. Firstly, celebrating the 6th annual Gambas. That is there in both the books. This FN and VIM means both the books. Then have the Rapitwan consecrated or attended. That was mentioned again in both the books. Then perform the regular worship of Saroshazar, which we generally do if you do your daily prayers or Farajat prayer. The worship of Saroshazar will automatically come into it. So that is there. Then remember the flower show of the departed ones on the Farvadegan days. That also gives. Then recite the Kaushik Nyas, which of course would come if we do the Farajat. Then recite the Mahabhukta Nyas at least thrice a month. Amas, Chandrat and Punam. That is also there in both the books. Then have monthly or annual rituals performed in memory of dear departed ones. And this is a duty especially given to the children. And that's why in the past, if a person died without an issue, he would have a religious adoption of somebody, generally a male, which was called Pala. And his responsibility would be to see that the rituals of the person are performed.
You can do the rituals when you are alive also. No?
Pardon?
In-
Yeah, the Jinderavan rituals are the rituals which one could do if one feels that one rituals do not be performed, they could have been performed while they are living.
So my question is, how do you celebrate the annual Gambars when it is not being done now anymore?
There are two ways. Actually, there is a inner ritual called Visparat. I mean, it just needs
Yes,
a Visparat. So Visparat is the ritual which needs to be performed on the days of the Gamba. And if not that, then Gambar to Jashan Taisa. So these two religious rituals have to be performed, attended by the people, then followed by a community meal, which is not heavy on the pocket of anybody, but which is more or less brings about a sense of community and camaraderie. And lastly, wearing of the Sadha Kasti and performing the Kasti ritual, that is also one of in the benediction of Iranian marriages, that also is given as a duty. Now, when you do these practices, what happens? How your religious teachings come into play? First of all, we have seen there is positive and negative energies. So these rituals, especially the ritual, the Baj, the tariqas that we mentioned in the beginning, they are working with energies. The prayers, they are all working with the positive and negative energies and accumulating parinam, the positive energy. Then being in touch with the divine beings and the divine world, this Gambar, Rapitwan, Muktar, remembering the departed ones, it keeps us in touch, and it is our religious requirement to always be in touch with the spiritual world. Then there is a need for protection against evils. We have seen that our rituals, especially the Kasti prayer, fulfills that. Then cleansing oneself from evil of all kinds. There is Kasti and there are other purificatory rituals for that. To live in consonance with the creations and take care of nature. Once again, the Gambas remind you of that. The Sadra reminds you of that. Our Lokmenashri system reminds you of that. Of being in consonance with nature. Then, as I said, most of the rituals are dramatizations of your religious teachings. So for example, when the priest picks up the flowers at the time of Jashan, he says the word Humatana, Muktana, Vashtana, which means good thoughts, good words, good deeds. So it's a constant reminder of those three teachings of the religion, if you are consciously participating in the Jashan. And finally and most importantly, expressing gratitude to divine beings, ancestors and God. Because every ritual that you perform, it is in a way a thanksgiving for whatever we have got, especially the Farvadegan ritual. Farvadegan is especially the Mukta. It is a way to express our gratitude. The place where we are standing, the place where we are staying, the benefits that we are getting, all that is because of them. So it's a way of expressing our gratitude to them. So our practices ensure that we will follow the religion and not forget it. If it is plain philosophy and theology, we will tend to forget it. But as a practice, it will automatically be a part of our life. Thank you. Yeah, now. Yeah, even this question check, आप दर्शन वगैरह चमक चिपिया थे अगर touch करें, what is the significance? There are twofold significance. One is we are drawing a fortification, कश दोरिये चले मोबाइल भाषा में कश दोरिये चले. Secondly, it is acknowledging the existence of God everywhere, omnipresence of God.
First is what you said? First is?
Fortification
Okay, completely.
of the place of ritual. And secondly, acknowledging the omnipresence of God. So 4 directions and 4 sides. Everywhere, God is there everywhere.
Is it not our duty to visit the fire temple on some frequency, regularly?
Yes. Visiting.
Where does it fall in this duties?
Yeah, it is not mentioned over there because it's
almost obvious.
Perhaps in a way,
It's
going
kind of-
to the fire temple.
Yes.
It's so obvious, I suppose. That
No, but it should have been
No,
there.
it should be there.
Obvious,
It's
it
a
should have
duty.
been there. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for drawing attention. I will listen.
Thank
But yeah, going into the fire, going to fire. That's why in our calendar, those days are marked.
There is a mark, exact.
To go to the fire temple.
So those are the auspicious days.
But in ancient Iran, there was never a practice. This is a practice in India.
Yeah.
In ancient Iran, we never went to fire temples. There were never such fire temples. And there were fire temples on mountains where people could relate to from down. तेरी तो आपरे आकाश नियासना we remember mountains. Asnavante Garoish, Raivante Garoish, because fire, the special sacred fires were on mountains and people could relate to it from down. This going to the fire temple, of course, it was a practice which was introduced after we came to.
so even there are no fire temples there.
There were, but not the way we used to go.
Not a formal.
Yeah, as she said, every house had fire.
Yes.
So they used to play over there, and the main fire is the Girna fire.
Yes.
The Agaran fire no concept was not so much there. The Atash Berams were there, and the Hearth fire, the Dagda fire was there. Agaran fire was a later concept.
So the Adhyaris in Iran are new there.
Yes.
And the Atash Beram is supposed to be
Atash Berams were there.
so
Since
that's
when
why
we-
one Atash Beram which we went to.
Yes.
Yeah. That
Yes,
is supposed
that
to be
is-
2005.
Yes, there is very ancient years no Adarsh Mehra.
It's still
Yes.
So that was there before we came here, right?
Yes.
So the
Yes.
concept, was it in that same form, like a building and a...
Yeah, actually after the Kriya comes that we do to establish a fire temple, that those were done even in Iran. But in Sasanian times when they were making Adarsh Mehra, of course those process was a bit different. Today the process is a bit different. But it underwent the same cycle.
But now
Next, sorry.
we'll kind of, I mean, I don't suppose most people do all this, so we'll lose all this.
No, we
And
don't
like, for
lose.
example, Monjak, Shanam, I was just thinking, it'd be nice if like we chat around with our children and sang.
Today's life has changed, no? But today's technology will not allow it to totally die down. It will always be there on record.
People should be interested.
Huh?
But children should be interested.
Yeah, children, it should be made such that children. When the time will come, though, perhaps in the cycle when people will get bored with the electronic gadgets and again turn back to human beings.
Iran was not sir.
एक क्या जाता है?
Technically, India, I mean, in the world there are 9 Adarsh. 8 here and
One in Iran.
where in the other.
Yes.
So that's a fully consecrated, functional Adarsh.
Not in the way as it functions over here, but it was concentrated in the same location. Next week we have prayers.
Next week.
The concept of prayers in general and Zoroastrian prayers in particular.